Okay, first step first, iron out your fabric. Step 2, you are going to measure 15 inches by 7.5 inches. So right now I have this chalk pen and I'm just going to come over here and mark where the 15-inch mark is. Okay, so this is where my 15 inch mark is from this side. Wipe this up. Okay, so this is 15 inches. And then since this is only 6 inches across, I have to come over here and measure this way. So I'm going to measure 7.5 inches down on both sides. And then just, you're going to do the line across going from both. So this is going to look like you can also make your own pattern 15 by 7.5 just out of a piece of cardboard or piece of paper. So then it literally just be 15 by 7.5, 15, 7.5. And so I'm gonna connect these two lines from here to here. Okay, so I got this chalked out. So this is 7.5 by 15. So this is going to be the body of the mask, and then this is going to be the bias tape. I just went ahead and marked this out. This is 3 inches by 8.5 inches. So we'll just cut. I have these rotary cutters, so I'm just going to cut along these lines. But if you have scissors, you can also just use scissors for that part. Okay, so here is my body and my bias tape, or what will eventually be my bias tape. So what you're gonna do is, if you have a serger, you're gonna go ahead and serge this edge and this edge of the body, or if you don't have a serger, you can use a zigzag stitch just to stitch up those sides so it doesn't fray. So I'm gonna go do that real quick and then I'll come back. Okay, so now the edges are serged or zigzagged, whichever one you want to do. So you're going to take it and fold it in half and meet these edges up right here, just like that. And you can put a little pin in there if you want to. And then you are going to measure out 1.5 inches from each side. So from here to here, 1.5, from here to here, 1.5. Okay, so here's my 1.5 mark from the edge of the fabric to here. So I'm going to take my chalk or pin, depending on if you have light or dark fabric, and just mark that right there. And then come to the other side and do the exact same thing. Okay, so now I have my 2 marks. So then I'm going to just run the straight stitch from here to here, and then making sure that you're backing up, do forward or backward on the beginning and ends of both of those on each side. And then I'm gonna probably do about 1/2 inch, I'd say, or maybe 3/4 of an inch is where I'm gonna sew at. So I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, so each side now has a straight stitch or a straight seam from here to here and from here to here. It's okay if it's not perfect. It's really okay. It will still work. So don't worry about perfection on this at all. So then what you're going to do is you're going to take this and flip it just so that that is in the middle and everything's still on the inside. And then you're going to press this down flat all the way down like this. Okay, now that I've pressed this with my iron, you're gonna go and you're just gonna basically kind of turn this inside out, and don't sew both sides together. Make sure to only do this, but you're just gonna sew a straight stitch, just doing a top stitch, basically just pressing or just stitching these flaps down. So I will do that in just a second. I kind of turn this inside out just so it's easier. When you get to the end of this first strip, put the needle down into the thread, lift this up, and then just turn it. Set it back down. Oops, it's kind of hard to see. Set it back down, and then you'll just kind of go over to the next flap, and that way you're just using less thread, and you don't have to pull it out and then go down again. So, let's see. Okay. Do this, and then sew a straight stitch down the other side. Okay, so this is what those straight stitches look like afterwards. Like I said, mine's not perfect and it doesn't have to be. So what I did was I sewed down, came across, and then sewed back, and making sure you're back stitching on both of those, the beginning and the end. So that's what that looks like. And then after this, you're going to measure from the seam, either side, it doesn't matter, but from this seam, you're going to measure 1/2 inch up on both sides. So you can just mark that with your pen or chalk, like that. Okay, so this is my 1/2 inch mark on both sides. So what you're going to do is you're going to move it up, and so that's basically going to be the new top. And then you're going to press that down with an iron. Okay. So now that this is pressed, you are going to, this is where the filter will go, this little pocket right there. So you're gonna, that's gonna be on the back side. So now you're gonna make the pleats, and I am not a perfectionist when it comes to this at all, but I just kind of start with my fingers here, and I'm trying to get a good angle, and then just kind of fold down like that. So fold down like this, making sure it's pretty even on both sides. And you can pin this, but I just don't pin because it just takes too much time. So press that down. Okay, then you're gonna do the same thing with the next one, taking this, making your next pleat. Like that. Pressing that down again. Okay. And then same thing for the last one. That's what it looks like. Okay, so after you get all 3 of those pleats done, this is with the back, or this is the side that will be facing your mouth, because you'll be able to put the filter in here. So you're going to take this to your sewing machine, and you can do a straight stitch or a zigzag stitch, but I'm just going to serge this edge, and that will keep the pleats in place. And so, yep, just go ahead and do that for your next step. Okay, now we're going to make the bias tape. So I am going to measure down 1 inch from here and 1 inch from here, and then mark that with your pen or chalk. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick. Okay, so this is 1 inch and 1 inch. So whenever you fold it over, it's just going to be 1/2 inch since it's folded in half. So then you'll press this down, and then it will have a 1/2 inch hem on both sides. Okay, after you press both sides, 1/2 inch, down to that line. You're gonna fold this in half like so, matching up the sides, and then press that flat. After you have that pressed flat, so it's gonna look like this, you're just gonna fold this in half so it's even, and then cut right here so that you have 2 pieces of the bias tape. And yep. Okay, so here's my bias tape now. It's cut in half. So this is gonna cap this side, and this is gonna cap this side. This is what it looks like after I got this, or this edges serged. So this is able to expand into the mask that you want it to be. But for now, we'll just leave it folded and get this bias tape put on. You can pin this bias tape whenever you're putting it on, but I just choose to not use pins. So what I'm going to be doing is setting that in the middle. Put that in the middle, and then lay this out flat. Put that in the middle. Fold this over, and fold this over. You can do it one at a time. Press that down, and then fold this half over the top of it. Press that down. Okay, so now this looks like that. So you're keeping all these hems still tucked in. And now you're going to take it and just fold it over like this, and then press that, and then it'll just have a straight stitch over just the edge, the inside edge of that. Now that I have both bias tapes on both sides, I'm going to take a straight stitch and just stitch this, making sure to back up at the beginning and at the end of your stitch on both sides. And then after you do that, this will have a little space in here that you can run a 1/4 inch elastic through. And then I usually do, for my elastic, it is about 9.75 to 10 inches long per ear. And a quarter inch is the best to use. You can also use 5/8 inch fold over elastic, and then you just fold it in half and zigzag stitch the top of that for your elastic as well. I am using fold over elastic right now, which is what this is, with just a zigzag stitch over the top, but I did order a 1/4 inch braided elastic, and I'm just waiting for that to get in the mail. Okay, so this is the side that you'll wear against your face. This part up here will be on your nose. So what you can do is get, I'm using twist ties. I've ordered these online. They're about 5 inches long. And you can just put this right up through here. And then sew a straight stitch from here across the top. And then this bottom pocket section is where the filter will go. So after you get this straight stitch sewn right there, this will be able to bend around your nose and form around your face to make a better seal. I have also used just these short ones, these short twist ties from the grocery store. They're not as long. So if you have this in there, I just put a little stitch right here and a stitch right here too. That way it just doesn't slide around from side to side very much. But other than that, this is it. And you can take your elastic, hook it to a little safety pin, close that up, and then just string it through here, string it through this side, since this has a little opening that you can do that on each side. Yeah, and that's it. I didn't measure out the pleats, but as long as they're around, as long as this is around like 3 inches or so, it's good. That way the bias tape fits on the ends and it's all capped in.